All right, sports fans, welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by my man Pez, the man with the picks. Hopefully you checked out our podcast yesterday, talking all about last week's games, recapping both NFL and college football. Now it's time to turn the page. It's time to get ready for this week's slate of games. Pez, welcome back. How's it going?
Jeff, we're feeling hotter the more we think about it. The one of the worst betting days I've seen in recent history in the NFL. People, there was some giants getting knocked out by some puny teams, Jeff. So we were 3-2. We were happy, Jeff. We're very happy about that number. Could have been 0-5 easy. I mean, a lot of people I know got smoked, and it's a tough year when quarterback play is questionable on a lot of teams. Tough to bet for them, but it is fun betting against them, Jeff. We're looking at that again this week.
Well, and it's always interesting to me, college football, you have the big time spreads a lot of times. You're talking about, like we've mentioned on this show multiple times, the transfer portal. Who knows who's playing where, coaching where? But let's get dialed in on the NCAA. We're 4-4 heading into this week. The first game that you're taking, NC State getting 17 points versus Clemson. You like the Wolfpack?
Jeff, I'm not really sold on Clemson. Dabo Sweeney, coach of Clemson, has announced he's not getting involved in the transfer portal like one of the academies, like the Naval Academy and West Point Air Force. So I don't know. To me, Jeff, that's just surrendering, right? I mean, and I think that's going to come back to burn him in a lot of situations. And I think this could be it might not be much longer for Clemson. They lose a few more games this year. So, I'm not a total fan of the quarterback. We've bet against him for a couple of years, Jeff, but he's playing well so far. I just think NC State's a good team, a good defense. And that's a ton of points. That line's jumped, and I think NC State's got a little more fuel in that tank, and so we like this game a lot. We'll look a little bit at the injury report, and for sure we'll put out a play Thursday or Friday because this is a Saturday game. But I like NC State a lot in this situation. I'm not a Clemson fan, Jeff. I'm just saying. I'm not a Dabo fan. I don't know. That guy annoys me, Jeff. I don't. You gotta be a winner. The rules change. Get in it. You got to get in that portal. Hire some dudes. There's some experts out there. Hire you, Jeff.
There you go. Just as a reminder, because you mentioned that the line can change, injury reports. Be on the lookout for @Pez's Picks, both on Twitter and X and on Instagram, for the latest lines, the latest plays. If things change, he's going to let you know there because this is coming out well before the games actually are played. Let's go to our next pick. USC versus Michigan. USC is getting 8.5 points, and you like the Southern California Trojans here.
And this is, we got to bet this game. It's game of the week. We got USC in the big house, 130,000 people or something in that place. So, and USC had a big win early on the road this year. They start off beating LSU. That's a huge win. It was a neutral site, but still a road game. So, I don't. It's not the Michigan of last year. I like what they do there, but they're not nearly as talented. And I think LSU's proven that 2 solid wins. 45 points last week against Utah State. So I like them a lot in this situation. I think they got a lot to prove that they can compete against big teams like this. And, I think their offensive defensive lines bulked up big time. And it's shown that they can muscle some teams out there. So love the quarterback. This kid he's awesome. I think he's got a lot of the big games coming ahead of him this year and smoked it at the end of last year. And I'm a big Moss fan. So I like them a lot in this situation.
All right, to USC getting 8.5. We're going to stick with the underdogs in the next play. We picked them last week. They pulled through against Air Force. We're going with Baylor again, getting 2 points against Coach Prime in Colorado. You're not a believer in the Buffs, are you?
Prime's Prime Time is maybe my favorite defensive player, Jeff. Pez's Picks and everyone I know gambled in the 90s. You made a lot of money on that guy. He broke so many big plays. You had to bet for that team. It was the most exciting thing, but it doesn't seem like he's fully invested, Jeff. I know his son's amazing, and they're fun to watch, but I think Baylor is a tough team. They've been punching teams in the face, and that is tough in college football when you have a tough physical team. You're playing against seemingly like bigger guys. It seems like we'll be looking at this one a little closer, checking the weather. It's getting cold out west, Jeff. It's snowing in Utah today. You know
Wow.
I should be out there skiing, Jeff. What am I doing here? It's football. Let's go.
All right, so we're taking Baylor +2 versus Colorado. The last play, which I think is actually on Sunday, UNI versus Hawaii. You're taking Hawaii, giving 8.5 points. I'm sure you have some specific reason as to why you're taking Hawaii, giving 8.5 points.
Jeff, it's a gambling tradition that you take Hawaii. That it's the midnight game. You know, when I was a single man, I'd be out at some bar or some casino. You got a reason to keep going till 3 a.m. Jeff. You got Hawaii at home playing. You know, Northern Iowa, Hawaii. They're not going to know what hit them, Jeff. That's an intoxicating place. I mean, I learned all about it watching on the Brady Bunch. It was fantastic arc of shows there. Uh, I love Hawaii in this situation. Every gambler that's out Saturday night, whether they won or lost, if they're out at midnight, like, all right, who are we taking? Because what else are you watching? You know, most of the time we're striking out with girls, Jeff, when I was single. So, love Hawaii. I love them. Northern Iowa, they're not going to have the game. I mean, these guys get big. This is a huge event in Hawaii, right? This is probably the biggest sporting event they have. Love it. Love them, Jeff.
All
We're
right,
all over them.
so the 4 plays from NCAA to college football: NC State +17 against Clemson, USC +8.5 against Michigan, Baylor +2 against Colorado, and Hawaii -8.5 over UNI. So there you go. There's our NCAA college picks.
It's strong leans. I mean, if we're not putting them out on Instagram, then we're not taking them, Jeff. So
Okay.
people listening, you know, because you know there are some injuries out there, and there's a couple running back questions too. But those are strong leans. I might have to pull against primetime. I kind of feel bad, Jeff. I love the man. Give me so much joy, that guy.
All right, so let's go to the NFL. We're only taking 4 games in the NFL this week as of right now. And so some of these lines are very interesting to me for a lot of reasons. I think a game that a lot of people need to be paying attention to this weekend are 2-0 teams between the Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings. No one saw the Minnesota Vikings being 2-0, yet here we are. Houston giving 2.5 points against Minnesota. You like CJ Stroud and the Texans.
I mean, you know, I love that guy, Jeff. That's like my Detroit Lions, I think, this year, Houston. I think this is a team that's going to get better. They're going to start gelling more. Defense, I mean, they're, you know, tight game against the Bears, but, you know, the Bears, their defense is probably better than they looked in the first game. But I think the ceiling is still pretty high for what Houston's going to do. I don't know. I'm calling Vikings are fraud, Jeff. I mean, Sam Darnold can't be this good. He can't.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a huge win and a huge start. They got to come back to earth. You know, we're waiting on a CJ Stroud and he's just lighting it up. And, you know, you feel like there's got to be a highlight. This has got to be a week where this guy's coming out here and bombing the ball. And but I'm pretty sure we're taking this game. And, you know, the games are tough, Jeff. There's a lot of tough matchups again this week, and especially after last week, a lot of question marks. So everybody's tiptoeing back in the water. It's like a shark attack happened, and now we're going surfing again, Jeff. It's not fun, right? You know, last week was terrible for a lot of people. People were angry at work today. It was terrible.
Yeah, and honestly, no one saw Minnesota beating San Francisco last week, so you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Jefferson's a little banged up too.
He is.
Saw, you know, in the quad he says he's playing. So if he's not playing, Jeff, we're 100% taking him. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Next game, Tampa Bay -3 against the Denver Broncos. Tampa Bay's undefeated. They just went into Detroit and won. They look like a solid team. We talked about Denver yesterday's podcast, talking about how the Steelers went into Denver. Bo Nix looked very rookie-like. You're liking the Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker Mayfield here.
We're huge fans of Baker. We took him a lot last year, Jeff. And the guy, he did great commercials. You know, his first city wasn't friendly, but great commercials. You know, we rate quarterbacks commercial talent. How good your commercials are on TV is part of our equation, Jeff, on how good of a quarterback you are. You got to have personality. You can't be some, you know, moron. So love them. I think the defense, you know, they were better than what they've showed a little bit this year. I mean, they've given up more points than I would have thought they would have at this stage, but they're at home. You know, giving up 20 to the Commanders, I don't know. Was that a fluke? I can't see 2 bad offenses lighting this defense up is what I'm getting at, Jeff. And, you know, the Bucks are tough. Tom Brady always talked about how it was tough playing the Bucks at any time, no matter how good they are. They're a physical team. And I feel bad for my man Bo Nix, but I think it's going to be a long, long day for him. Pressure's on. I don't know how much help he's getting either. It looks like he's getting swarmed. That line's not looking too hot, and defensive line for Tampa should overwhelm him. And Baker's hot, Jeff. This guy's hot. Maybe this is the team. We were talking some future bets. Might not be a bad play to put some money on Tampa to win the Super Bowl right now, or on Houston to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they're going to have to beat Kansas City, it appears, but or Pittsburgh, maybe, Jeff. I don't want to insult you, but these teams are maybe who's going to kind of come out of this new football and this new season and 17 games, and I don't know. They're hot right now.
All right. Well, let's talk about the team that you rode last year a lot, the Detroit Lions. Again, they're coming off of a loss against Tampa Bay where Dan Campbell was blaming himself once again. Detroit is giving 3 points to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals coming off of a huge performance last week where Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray had a strong connection. But you still like Detroit. You still like Detroit here.
I mean, we're going to look at this one again too, Jeff, and this is a tough game. I'd like to believe Arizona's that good, but I think if you take Harrison out of the game, then that offense has a tough time moving the ball. Detroit started a little bit slow. I think Detroit. I mean, the Bucs and the Rams are two good teams, so maybe this is when they start getting on track, Jeff. And when that coach talks like that, last year when he talked like that, that team started getting on a roll, right? They're all in with this dude. He's one of the dudes, this coach. So I like their chances this week. And I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan. I don't think there's a quarterback question here. I think Goff's a way better quarterback than Murray, and he had a rough start. So I think Goff starts playing better again. He's got confidence. He knows he's their guy. I think this is a good play this week.
So do you weigh into the equation? You said quarterback commercials. What about coach commercials? Because I think Dan Campbell's Applebee's commercials are hysterical.
Legendary, Jeff. Legendary. I mean that you gotta love that guy, and he's a legit guy. He's not some fake rah guy. He's a player. So they love that he loves the team, and I like that. I think Detroit comes back a little bit here and starts getting on a little bit of a roll. They got to. Right. We all love them.
All right, last play of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs giving 2.5 versus Atlanta. This is a primetime game. That's the Falcons who just rose up and beat your Birds. You like the Chiefs?
And, I got to check myself, Jeff. Am I just really angry still as an Eagles fan? Do I hate Kirk Cousins that much? So annoying, Jeff. I don't know why. It annoys me. Everybody loves him. It annoys me. The Chiefs should blow that team out that the Eagles allowed to score the last, couple plays of the game, Jeff. Prior to that, they were beating that team, and I think the Chiefs are a better team than the Eagles. We got to make sure, I mean, it is tough to travel, Jeff, but, Pacheco, him being out, does this open the door to Mahomes having a big day? I kind of think so. And I think, Mahomes, the defenses aren't confusing this guy. So I think this might be an opportunity where he's going to have to air the ball out a little bit more. They're going to have kind of running back by committee, I think. And, I love him, Jeff. If that line stays, it's going from 2.5 up to 4. So, if that line gets up to like 6-7 points, then, that's not the game we're probably wouldn't take that many. But we'll see, Jeff. We'll take a look at the injury report and see who's starting at running back.
Yeah, we have time for that. And make sure, again, you check out Instagram and X at Pez's Picks for all the latest news and updates. A lot of these plays that we're talking about here, like last week with the Houston Texans line shifting, these lines we're giving you are not set in stone. So keep that in mind. Never forget that. But Pez, any final thoughts on the upcoming week?
We've got another one we're looking at too, Jeff, and Deebo Samuel being out. I don't know if you recall last year, but when Deebo or Brock or Purdy or if McCaffrey or if Ayuk, if one of those guys was out, their numbers dropped. When two of those guys were out, they were like a below 500 team. So I think the Rams are a good situational play. I think the Rams at home, losing Deebo, that's rough. I mean, they're down a lot of guys now. At some point, losing Deebo and McCaffrey, that's got to hurt you at some point. So that's something we're going to really take a look at. And I have that line's shooting up. I mean, it's closing in on 8 points. If that line gets to 8-9 points, I think we have to jump on the Rams at home.
Well, the Rams are banged up too. Puka Nacua
they are
placed on IR, and Cooper Kupp's likely to miss. So that's a mash unit game right there.
I think it's the NFL, Jeff. There's got to be guys on the bench that can catch a Stafford ball. If he's on, I could probably go out there and catch a touchdown from this guy. So, and I think that's why that line's shooting up. But I like the Rams' chances anyway, Jeff. I think
All
this is
right.
a good position. I think it's going to be that game where everyone's like, "Damn, I can't believe it." But we'll see.
All right. Sounds good, Pez. As always, man, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the games this week.
All right, Jeff. Let's go. Let's go
Oh,
Steelers. Let's go Birds. Let's go. Let's get it
all
done.
right. Here we go. Have a good week, everybody.
You too.